안녕하세요. 카이스트에서 학생으로 10년 반, 교수로 14년 반 지내고 있는 전산학부장 류서경입니다. 반갑습니다. 카이스트는 지난 50여 년간 혁신적인 기술 개발로 국가 경제 발전에 지대한 기여를 해왔고, 이제는 인류 사회의 번영에 기여하는 글로벌 교육과 연구를 선도하고 있습니다. 카이스트의 연구와 교육은 이미 세계적인 수준에 이르고 있지만 안타깝게도 우리의 문화와 환경은 아직 그에 훨씬 미치지 못하고 있습니다. 세계적인 우리 구성원들에게 지표 중심의 성장주의 방식은 더 이상 동기를 부여할 수 없습니다. 카이스트가 나아가야 할 방향은 경제적, 정치적인 계산이 아니라 구성원의 논의에 바탕을 둔 우리가 공유하는 가치에 부합하게 설정해야 합니다. 호기심과 즐거움으로 도전적이고 창의적인 학문을 선도해야 할 대학에서 기업에서처럼 연구비와 규모를 키우는 것이 최우선 가치가 되어 주객이 전도되는 것은 아닌지 심각하게 돌아봐야 할 때입니다. 현재 카이스트 전임 교원 중 40, 50대가 73.4%입니다. 이런 상황에서 40, 50대 교수의 리더십을 증대하고 구성원의 소속감과 카이스트의 가치관을 함께 나누는 것이 필수적인 시기입니다. 서로 존중하고 소통하고 격려하는 문화를 조성하여 구성원들이 애정과 긍지를 느끼고 세계적 석학이 오고 싶어하고 유수기관들이 찾아와 함께 일하고 싶어하는 카이스트를 만들고자 총장 후보로 나왔습니다. 새로운 세대의 학생에게 맞는 교육 환경을 구축하겠습니다. 원격으로 가능한 수업은 대형 강의를 더 효율적으로 운영하고 실험 실습이 중요한 과목은 그에 맞는 혁신적인 방법을 시도하겠습니다. 학생이 주체가 되어 운영할 수 있는 프로젝트 기반 수업을 개설하여 서로 지식을 교환하고 자유롭게 토론하며 함께 성장하는 열린 교육의 장을 마련하겠습니다. 세계를 선도하는 연구 역량의 카이스트 학생이 그에 맞는 자세와 소양을 갖추도록 교육하고 세계적인 기관과 협력하여 교환학생 및 인턴을 확대하여 글로벌 인재로 양성하겠습니다. 학교 본부에서 분야를 선정하고 육성하는 것이 아니라 전문가 교수님들의 제안을 적극 경청하고 지원하겠습니다. 논문 숫자나 과제 규모도 중요하지만 그 이상 가치 있는 다양한 기준으로 경쟁력을 제고하겠습니다. 장미꽃 향기, 물고기 뇌, 다양한 특이 입자를 연구하시는 우리 교수님들이, 의사이지만 임상 대신 연구와 창업을 하시는 우리 교수님들이 서로 경쟁하고 비교하며 우열을 나누는 문화가 아니라 각자의 개성을 존중하고 서로의 빈 곳을 채워가며 한 차원 높은 수월성에 도달하는 학교로 만들겠습니다. 장기적 원천적인 기초연구에 지속적인 투자를 지원하여 기초과학 발전의 토대를 마련하겠습니다. 호라이즌 유럽, 달파 프로젝트 등 다양한 국제 공동 연구 기회를 적극적으로 발굴하여 국외에서 연구비를 확보하고 세계 무대에서 인류 사회의 번영에 기여할 수 있도록 하겠습니다. 장기적으로 안정적인 재정을 확보하는 데 힘쓰며 국가의 재정 지원을 확대할 수 있는 교수님 팀을 양성하겠습니다. 카이스트 구성원이 본연의 업무인 연구 및 교육에 오롯이 집중할 수 있도록 행정 업무의 효율을 높이겠습니다. 행정 절차를 간소화하고 업무는 자동화, 시스템화, 문서화하겠습니다. 최첨단 연구 장비를 지원하는 전문 인력과 행정 인력을 증가하고 대형 과제 기획 및 제안서 작성을 돕는 팀을 마련하겠습니다. 코로나 시기에 학내 여러 교수님, 팀장님과 함께 급변하는 상황에 신속히 대응하고 첨예한 갈등 상황을 중재하여 10개월이 넘도록 캠퍼스 내 확진자가 발생하지 않도록 한 뛰어난 리더십을 다시 한번 보여드리겠습니다. 카이스트의 비전과 지향성을 구성원이 함께 논의하고 공감대를 먼저 형성한 후 나아가겠습니다. 캠퍼스의 확장, 교수 충원 규모와 속도 등 학교의 중요 현안을 구성원이 각자 주인의식을 갖고 같이 고민하겠습니다. 카이스트가 얼마나 멋진지 구성원부터 스스로 자부심을 갖고 세계에 열정적으로 전파할 수 있도록 하겠습니다. 교원을 6등급으로 상대평가하는 인사제도 대신 탁월한 성취를 축하하는 제도를 만들겠습니다. 경쟁이 심한 카이스트에서 높은 자존감으로 타인에 대한 다정하고 세심한 응원의 마음으로 함께 즐겁게 성장하는 문화를 만들겠습니다. 전산학부에서는 카이스트 최초로 동문의 큰 기부를 받아 내년 초에 완공할 건물을 짓고 있고 교수님들이 신나게 즐겁게 세계적 연구를 선도하시는 향기를 따라 서울, 미국, 프랑스, 독일 등에서 신임교원으로 찾아오시는 곳이 되었습니다. 이 변화를 카이스트 전체로 확대하겠습니다. 전산학부장, 학생생활처장, 포용성위원장을 맡으면서 학생과 교수, 직원, 학교의 마음을 이해하게 되었습니다. 구성원의 마음을 헤아리며 적극적이고 투명하게 소통하고 결단력 있게 결정하며 구성원의 행복과 카이스트의 내실을 다지겠습니다. 카이스트가 한 팀으로 연대하여 다음 단계로 도약할 수 있도록 확실한 리더십을 보여드리겠습니다. 감사합니다.
존경하는 카이스트 교수님 여러분, 카이스트는 끝없는 노력으로 지난 50년간 세계에서 가장 성공적인 연구 중심 대학으로 발전하였습니다. 뿐만 아니라 카이스트는 국가 산업과 경제 발전에도 크게 기여하였습니다. 삼성전자, SK하이닉스, LG, 현대자동차에서의 핵심 연구개발 인력들이 바로 카이스트 졸업생들입니다. 그 결과 우리나라 메모리 반도체, 스마트폰, TV 산업이 전 세계 1등 산업으로 성장했습니다. 이제 카이스트는 인공지능을 중심으로 벌어지는 기술 패권 시대에 우리 국민들에게 남은 마지막 꿈이자 희망입니다. 하지만 대한민국 국민의 입장에서 볼 때 우리 카이스트에게 더욱 매진해야 할 아쉬운 점이 남아있는 것도 사실입니다. 아직 카이스트에서 노벨상 수상자가 나오지 않았습니다. 현재 전 세계는 인공지능을 중심으로 급격한 패러다임의 변화를 겪고 있습니다. 인공지능은 100년에 한 번 나올까 말까 한 세기적인 변화를 가져올 것으로 예상합니다. 바로 카이스트에서 엔비디아, 오픈 AI 또는 구글이나 애플과 같은 세계적인 플랫폼 기업이 나와야 합니다. 카이스트가 배출하는 인재는 전 세계 인류의 행복, 건강, 지속 발전 그리고 번영에 기여하는 인재가 되어야 합니다. 그 결과 국민 모두가 우리 카이스트의 존재와 가치에 대한 강한 자부심을 느끼고 카이스트 또한 구성원 모두가 행복하게 지내는 학교가 되어야 합니다. 저는 이러한 카이스트의 미래 목표를 달성하기 위해서 다음과 같은 9가지 실행 계획을 말씀드립니다. 첫 번째로 인공지능과 반도체를 중심으로 세계적 대전환을 주도하겠습니다. 두 번째로 양자 컴퓨팅 연구원을 설립하겠습니다. 세 번째로 과학기술의학 전문 대학원을 설립을 다시 추진하겠습니다. 네 번째로 5개의 메타융합관과 연구소를 신설하고 우주위성연구원을 확대 추진하겠습니다. 5개의 메타융합관은 신약 청로화 메타융합관, AIX 메타융합관, 인공지능 반도체 메타융합관, 유전자 줄기세포 바이러스 메타융합관, 스마트 로봇 모빌리티 메타융합관으로 추진할 계획입니다. 5번째로 글로벌 가상 네트워크 캠퍼스를 구축하겠습니다. 경기도 용인 반도체 메가 클러스터에 건설 중인 삼성 반도체 클러스터와 SK 하이닉스 반도체 클러스터 내에 각각 카이스트 캠퍼스를 구축하겠습니다. 인공지능과 반도체 협력을 위한 실리콘밸리 협력사무소를 설치하겠습니다. 그리고 미국 보스턴에 바이오 협력사무소를 개설하겠습니다. 6번째로 가상현실을 기반으로 교육혁신을 지속합니다. 7번째, 연간 8천억 원 규모의 연구비 시대를 열도록 하겠습니다. 8번째로 카이스트의 도전과 혁신의 문화를 심겠습니다. 카이스트 내에 혁신의 문화를 구축하기 위해서 캠퍼스 환경도 꾸준히 개선하겠습니다. 식당과 카페의 고급화 등 교육과 연구 수준에 맞는 세계적으로 아름다운 캠퍼스를 만들겠습니다. 주차 환경과 질서도 보완하겠습니다. 9번째로 구성원 모두가 살아있는 주인이 되고 서로 신뢰하도록 하겠습니다. 학생의 학습권과 인권도 보호할 것입니다. 외국인 학생도 마찬가지입니다. 하지만 여성 교원과 학생을 위한 정책의 실질적 시행과 지원에는 아직 개선의 여지가 많이 남아있다고 생각합니다. 양성평등과 다양성을 위한 조직도 신설할 것입니다. 마지막으로 저는 카이스트의 본질을 회복하고 구성원 모두가 상호 신뢰하는 문화를 구축하고 정착시키겠습니다. 제가 총장이 된다면 이러한 방향을 제시하고 이끌어가는 지휘자가 되겠습니다. 그 결과 모두가 행복하고 자부심을 갖는 학교 문화를 만들겠습니다. 무엇보다도 국민이 지지하고 성원하는 학교로 발전시키겠습니다. 대단히 감사합니다.
안녕하십니까. 18대 카이스트 총장 후보 기호 1번 기계공학과 교수 배충식입니다. 저는 기본이 튼튼한 글로벌 혁신 선도대학을 비전으로 카이스트의 새로운 시대를 열어갈 발전 계획과 운영 방향에 대해서 말씀드리겠습니다. 세계의 혁신을 선도하는 Back to the Basics, Leading Global Innovation. 이것은 강한 기초학력과 자신감으로 만들어집니다. 우리가 양성하고자 하는 인재상은 적극적으로 소통하는 열린 인재, 센서블한 사람, 학문적 기반이 탄탄한, 영리하고 현명한 과학기술자, 스마트한 사람, 용기와 자신감이 충만한 전략적 지도자로서의 스트롱한 사람입니다. 이러한 S큐브 인재는 창의 도전 배려에 C큐브 핵심 가치를 계승하고 구체적으로 구현한 것입니다. 이렇게 기본이 강한 창의적 인재를 배출하고 수월성 있는 연구를 진행해서 글로벌 혁신 선도대학으로 발전할 전략으로 그레이트 카이스트를 제안합니다. 글로벌 최고 수준의 교육 환경과 인사 시스템을 갖춘 글로벌 카이스트, 혁신적 연구를 선도하는 레볼루셔너리 카이스트, 친환경적이고 지속가능한 문화를 만들고 지속가능성 기술에 기여하는 인바이런멘탈 카이스트, 우리 국가와 인류 복지 발전에 대한 책임을 다하는 어카운터블 카이스트, 학내 구성원이 자율성을 갖고 원만하게 소통하는 트랜스페어런트 카이스트가 새 시대를 열어가는 자랑스러운 그레이스 카이스트를 실현하기 위한 주요 계획을 말씀드리겠습니다. 국제화 수준 제고는 글로벌 리더십 확보의 기본 전제입니다. 이것을 위해서 학부 교육, 특히 실험 실습 투자를 확대하고 기본 과목과 디지털 전환 관련 학습을 충분히 하도록 하겠습니다. 교수들은 글로벌 탑 역량을 갖추는 데 전념할 수 있도록 테뉴어 임용과 승진 심사를 간소화하겠습니다. 신임 교수 정착 예산과 행정 지원에 집중하는 데 특히 여성 교원과 외국인 신임 교수에 대해서는 가족 친화 기본 계획을 수립하도록 하겠습니다. 경험 많은 황금 세대 교수들이 지속적으로 글로벌 리더 활동을 할 수 있도록 하겠습니다. 혁신적 연구 주도력은 연구 중심 세계 선도 대학인 카이스트에게 필수 불가결한 요소입니다. 절박한 기후와 인구 문제에 대응해서 과학기술 기반의 인문사회과학, 경영과학, 예술과 융합한 혁명적인 카이스트다운 미래 비전 국가 프로젝트를 만들겠습니다. 교수당 오버헤드 기업은 일정 비율을 10년 단위로 장비비로 재투자할 수 있도록 하겠습니다. 기후위기에 대응하는 교육과 연구를 강화하는 한편 과밀화된 캠퍼스를 정돈해서 친환경적인 분위기를 조성하고 실용 가능한 ESG 경영과 지속 가능 목표를 설정해서 친환경 캠퍼스를 만들겠습니다. 특히 대규모 지하 주차장을 건설해서 주차난을 해소함과 동시에 기후 변화에 적응하는 지속 가능한 캠퍼스를 만들겠습니다. 국가 사회에 대한 책임을 다하는 카이스트는 규모와 수준에 관계없이 봉사하고 소통합니다. 중소 중견 스타트업 기업과 동시에 신속 연구 개발을 하는 교수들을 지원하겠습니다. 성공한 창업 교수가 바로 보상받고 재투자할 수 있는 인센티브 제도를 만들어서 창업을 장려하겠습니다. 투명한 운영과 소통으로 신뢰할 수 있는 카이스트를 만들어서 자율적이고 민주적이며 효율적인 학교가 되도록 하겠습니다. 첫 번째로 총장의 신임 교수 면접을 폐지하고 학과와 대학의 자율성을 확대하겠습니다. 행정 지원 절차를 간소화하고 업무와 인사 절차의 표준화를 진행하겠습니다. 학생, 교수, 직원, 동문이 함께하는 그레이트 카이스트 캠프를 운영해서 신입생부터 자부심을 고취하는 문화를 만들겠습니다. 이와 같은 그레이트 카이스트 전략을 실행하기 위해서 기본에 충실하고 소통하며 지속 가능성을 바탕으로 하는 카이스트 문화를 조성하겠습니다. 저는 학부장과 공과대학 학장, 코로나 대응 과학기술 뉴딜 사업단의 단장으로서 우리원의 교육, 연구, 행정 지원 업무의 현장에서 애로사항을 경험하고 우리원의 발전을 위한 숙제를 가슴에 새기게 되었습니다. 교수님들의 뜻을 받들어 신나고 자랑스러운 카이스트를 만들겠습니다. 새로운 시대를 열어가는 지속 가능한 그레이트 카이스트의 모습을 함께 만들어 갑시다.
안녕하세요. 카이스트에서 학생으로 10년 반, 교수로 14년 반 지내고 있는 전산학부장 류서경입니다. 반갑습니다. 카이스트는 지난 50여 년간 혁신적인 기술 개발로 국가 경제 발전에 지대한 기여를 해왔고, 이제는 인류 사회의 번영에 기여하는 글로벌 교육과 연구를 선도하고 있습니다. 카이스트의 연구와 교육은 이미 세계적인 수준에 이르고 있지만 안타깝게도 우리의 문화와 환경은 아직 그에 훨씬 미치지 못하고 있습니다. 세계적인 우리 구성원들에게 지표 중심의 성장주의 방식은 더 이상 동기를 부여할 수 없습니다. 카이스트가 나아가야 할 방향은 경제적, 정치적인 계산이 아니라 구성원의 논의에 바탕을 둔 우리가 공유하는 가치에 부합하게 설정해야 합니다. 호기심과 즐거움으로 도전적이고 창의적인 학문을 선도해야 할 대학에서 기업에서처럼 연구비와 규모를 키우는 것이 최우선 가치가 되어 주객이 전도되는 것은 아닌지 심각하게 돌아봐야 할 때입니다. 현재 카이스트 전임 교원 중 40, 50대가 73.4%입니다. 이런 상황에서 40, 50대 교수의 리더십을 증대하고 구성원의 소속감과 카이스트의 가치관을 함께 나누는 것이 필수적인 시기입니다. 서로 존중하고 소통하고 격려하는 문화를 조성하여 구성원들이 애정과 긍지를 느끼고 세계적 석학이 오고 싶어하고 유수기관들이 찾아와 함께 일하고 싶어하는 카이스트를 만들고자 총장 후보로 나왔습니다. 새로운 세대의 학생에게 맞는 교육 환경을 구축하겠습니다. 원격으로 가능한 수업은 대형 강의를 더 효율적으로 운영하고 실험 실습이 중요한 과목은 그에 맞는 혁신적인 방법을 시도하겠습니다. 학생이 주체가 되어 운영할 수 있는 프로젝트 기반 수업을 개설하여 서로 지식을 교환하고 자유롭게 토론하며 함께 성장하는 열린 교육의 장을 마련하겠습니다. 세계를 선도하는 연구 역량의 카이스트 학생이 그에 맞는 자세와 소양을 갖추도록 교육하고 세계적인 기관과 협력하여 교환학생 및 인턴을 확대하여 글로벌 인재로 양성하겠습니다. 학교 본부에서 분야를 선정하고 육성하는 것이 아니라 전문가 교수님들의 제안을 적극 경청하고 지원하겠습니다. 논문 숫자나 과제 규모도 중요하지만 그 이상 가치 있는 다양한 기준으로 경쟁력을 제고하겠습니다. 장미꽃 향기, 물고기 뇌, 다양한 특이 입자를 연구하시는 우리 교수님들이, 의사이지만 임상 대신 연구와 창업을 하시는 우리 교수님들이 서로 경쟁하고 비교하며 우열을 나누는 문화가 아니라 각자의 개성을 존중하고 서로의 빈 곳을 채워가며 한 차원 높은 수월성에 도달하는 학교로 만들겠습니다. 장기적 원천적인 기초연구에 지속적인 투자를 지원하여 기초과학 발전의 토대를 마련하겠습니다. 호라이즌 유럽, 달파 프로젝트 등 다양한 국제 공동 연구 기회를 적극적으로 발굴하여 국외에서 연구비를 확보하고 세계 무대에서 인류 사회의 번영에 기여할 수 있도록 하겠습니다. 장기적으로 안정적인 재정을 확보하는 데 힘쓰며 국가의 재정 지원을 확대할 수 있는 교수님 팀을 양성하겠습니다. 카이스트 구성원이 본연의 업무인 연구 및 교육에 오롯이 집중할 수 있도록 행정 업무의 효율을 높이겠습니다. 행정 절차를 간소화하고 업무는 자동화, 시스템화, 문서화하겠습니다. 최첨단 연구 장비를 지원하는 전문 인력과 행정 인력을 증가하고 대형 과제 기획 및 제안서 작성을 돕는 팀을 마련하겠습니다. 코로나 시기에 학내 여러 교수님, 팀장님과 함께 급변하는 상황에 신속히 대응하고 첨예한 갈등 상황을 중재하여 10개월이 넘도록 캠퍼스 내 확진자가 발생하지 않도록 한 뛰어난 리더십을 다시 한번 보여드리겠습니다. 카이스트의 비전과 지향성을 구성원이 함께 논의하고 공감대를 먼저 형성한 후 나아가겠습니다. 캠퍼스의 확장, 교수 충원 규모와 속도 등 학교의 중요 현안을 구성원이 각자 주인의식을 갖고 같이 고민하겠습니다. 카이스트가 얼마나 멋진지 구성원부터 스스로 자부심을 갖고 세계에 열정적으로 전파할 수 있도록 하겠습니다. 교원을 6등급으로 상대평가하는 인사제도 대신 탁월한 성취를 축하하는 제도를 만들겠습니다. 경쟁이 심한 카이스트에서 높은 자존감으로 타인에 대한 다정하고 세심한 응원의 마음으로 함께 즐겁게 성장하는 문화를 만들겠습니다. 전산학부에서는 카이스트 최초로 동문의 큰 기부를 받아 내년 초에 완공할 건물을 짓고 있고 교수님들이 신나게 즐겁게 세계적 연구를 선도하시는 향기를 따라 서울, 미국, 프랑스, 독일 등에서 신임교원으로 찾아오시는 곳이 되었습니다. 이 변화를 카이스트 전체로 확대하겠습니다. 전산학부장, 학생생활처장, 포용성위원장을 맡으면서 학생과 교수, 직원, 학교의 마음을 이해하게 되었습니다. 구성원의 마음을 헤아리며 적극적이고 투명하게 소통하고 결단력 있게 결정하며 구성원의 행복과 카이스트의 내실을 다지겠습니다. 카이스트가 한 팀으로 연대하여 다음 단계로 도약할 수 있도록 확실한 리더십을 보여드리겠습니다. 감사합니다.
존경하는 카이스트 교수님 여러분, 카이스트는 끝없는 노력으로 지난 50년간 세계에서 가장 성공적인 연구 중심 대학으로 발전하였습니다. 뿐만 아니라 카이스트는 국가 산업과 경제 발전에도 크게 기여하였습니다. 삼성전자, SK하이닉스, LG, 현대자동차에서의 핵심 연구개발 인력들이 바로 카이스트 졸업생들입니다. 그 결과 우리나라 메모리 반도체, 스마트폰, TV 산업이 전 세계 1등 산업으로 성장했습니다. 이제 카이스트는 인공지능을 중심으로 벌어지는 기술 패권 시대에 우리 국민들에게 남은 마지막 꿈이자 희망입니다. 하지만 대한민국 국민의 입장에서 볼 때 우리 카이스트에게 더욱 매진해야 할 아쉬운 점이 남아있는 것도 사실입니다. 아직 카이스트에서 노벨상 수상자가 나오지 않았습니다. 현재 전 세계는 인공지능을 중심으로 급격한 패러다임의 변화를 겪고 있습니다. 인공지능은 100년에 한 번 나올까 말까 한 세계적인 변화를 가져올 것으로 예상합니다. 바로 카이스트에서 엔비디아, 오픈 AI 또는 구글이나 애플과 같은 세계적인 플랫폼 기업이 나와야 합니다. 카이스트가 배출하는 인재는 전 세계 인류의 행복, 건강, 지속 발전 그리고 번영에 기여하는 인재가 되어야 합니다. 그 결과 국민 모두가 우리 카이스트의 존재와 가치에 대한 강한 자부심을 느끼고 카이스트 또한 구성원 모두가 행복하게 지내는 학교가 되어야 합니다. 저는 이러한 카이스트의 미래 목표를 달성하기 위해서 다음과 같은 9가지 실행 계획을 말씀드립니다. 첫 번째로 인공지능과 반도체를 중심으로 세계적 대전환을 주도하겠습니다. 두 번째로 양자 컴퓨팅 연구원을 설립하겠습니다. 세 번째로 과학기술의학 전문 대학원을 설립을 다시 추진하겠습니다. 네 번째로 5개의 메타융합관과 연구소를 신설하고 우주위성연구원을 확대 추진하겠습니다. 5개의 메타융합관은 신약 청로화 메타융합관, AIX 메타융합관, 인공지능 반도체 메타융합관, 유전자 줄기세포 바이러스 메타융합관, 스마트 로봇 모빌리티 메타융합관으로 추진할 계획입니다. 5번째로 글로벌 가상 네트워크 캠퍼스를 구축하겠습니다. 경기도 용인 반도체 메가 클러스터에 건설 중인 삼성 반도체 클러스터와 SK 하이닉스 반도체 클러스터 내에 각각 카이스트 캠퍼스를 구축하겠습니다. 인공지능과 반도체 협력을 위한 실리콘밸리 협력사무소를 설치하겠습니다. 그리고 미국 보스턴에 바이오 협력사무소를 개설하겠습니다. 6번째로 가상현실을 기반으로 교육혁신을 지속합니다. 7번째, 연간 8천억 원 규모의 연구비 시대를 열도록 하겠습니다. 8번째로 카이스트의 도전과 혁신의 문화를 심겠습니다. 카이스트 내에 혁신의 문화를 구축하기 위해서 캠퍼스 환경도 꾸준히 개선하겠습니다. 식당과 카페의 고급화 등 교육과 연구 수준에 맞는 세계적으로 아름다운 캠퍼스를 만들겠습니다. 주차 환경과 질서도 보완하겠습니다. 9번째로 구성원 모두가 살아있는 주인이 되고 서로 신뢰하도록 하겠습니다. 학생의 학습권과 인권도 보호할 것입니다. 외국인 학생도 마찬가지입니다. 하지만 여성 교원과 학생을 위한 정책의 실질적 시행과 지원에는 아직 개선의 여지가 많이 남아있다고 생각합니다. 양성평등과 다양성을 위한 조직도 신설할 것입니다. 마지막으로 저는 카이스트의 본질을 회복하고 구성원 모두가 상호 신뢰하는 문화를 구축하고 정착시키겠습니다. 제가 총장이 된다면 이러한 방향을 제시하고 이끌어가는 지휘자가 되겠습니다. 그 결과 모두가 행복하고 자부심을 갖는 학교 문화를 만들겠습니다. 무엇보다도 국민이 지지하고 성원하는 학교로 발전시키겠습니다. 대단히 감사합니다.
안녕하십니까. 18대 카이스트 총장 후보 기호 1번 기계공학과 교수 배충식입니다. 저는 기본이 튼튼한 글로벌 혁신 선도대학을 비전으로 카이스트의 새로운 시대를 열어갈 발전 계획과 운영 방향에 대해서 말씀드리겠습니다. 세계의 혁신을 선도하는 Back to the Basics, Leading Global Innovation. 이것은 강한 기초학력과 자신감으로 만들어집니다. 우리가 양성하고자 하는 인재상은 적극적으로 소통하는 열린 인재, 센서블한 사람, 학문적 기반이 탄탄한 영리하고 현명한 과학기술자, 스마트한 사람, 용기와 자신감이 충만한 전략적 지도자로서의 스트롱한 사람입니다. 이러한 S큐브 인재는 창의 도전 배려에 C큐브 핵심 가치를 계승하고 구체적으로 구현한 것입니다. 이렇게 기본이 강한 창의적 인재를 배출하고 수월성 있는 연구를 진행해서 글로벌 혁신 선도대학으로 발전할 전략으로 그레이트 카이스트를 제안합니다. 글로벌 최고 수준의 교육 환경과 인사 시스템을 갖춘 글로벌 카이스트, 혁신적 연구를 선도하는 레볼루셔너리 카이스트, 친환경적이고 지속가능한 문화를 만들고 지속가능성 기술에 기여하는 인바이런멘탈 카이스트, 우리 국가와 인류 복지 발전에 대한 책임을 다하는 어카운터블 카이스트, 학내 구성원이 자율성을 갖고 원만하게 소통하는 트랜스페어런트 카이스트가 새 시대를 열어가는 자랑스러운 그레이스 카이스트를 실현하기 위한 주요 계획을 말씀드리겠습니다. 국제화 수준 제고는 글로벌 리더십 확보의 기본 전제입니다. 이것을 위해서 학부 교육, 특히 실험 실습 투자를 확대하고 기본 과목과 디지털 전환 관련 학습을 충분히 하도록 하겠습니다. 교수들은 글로벌 탑 역량을 갖추는 데 전념할 수 있도록 테뉴어 임용과 승진 심사를 간소화하겠습니다. 신임 교수 정착 예산과 행정 지원에 집중하는 데 특히 여성 교원과 외국인 신임 교수에 대해서는 가족 친화 기본 계획을 수립하도록 하겠습니다. 경험 많은 황금 세대 교수들이 지속적으로 글로벌 리더 활동을 할 수 있도록 하겠습니다. 혁신적 연구 주도력은 연구 중심 세계 선도 대학인 카이스트에게 필수 불가결한 요소입니다. 절박한 기후와 인구 문제에 대응해서 과학기술 기반의 인문사회과학, 경영과학, 예술과 융합한 혁명적인 카이스트다운 미래 비전 국가 프로젝트를 만들겠습니다. 교수당 오버헤드 기업은 일정 비율을 10년 단위로 장비비로 재투자할 수 있도록 하겠습니다. 기후위기에 대응하는 교육과 연구를 강화하는 한편 과밀화된 캠퍼스를 정돈해서 친환경적인 분위기를 조성하고 실용 가능한 ESG 경영과 지속 가능 목표를 설정해서 친환경 캠퍼스를 만들겠습니다. 특히 대규모 지하 주차장을 건설해서 주차난을 해소함과 동시에 기후 변화에 적응하는 지속 가능한 캠퍼스를 만들겠습니다. 국가 사회에 대한 책임을 다하는 카이스트는 규모와 수준에 관계없이 봉사하고 소통합니다. 중소 중견 스타트업 기업과 동시에 신속 연구 개발을 하는 교수들을 지원하겠습니다. 성공한 창업 교수가 바로 보상받고 재투자할 수 있는 인센티브 제도를 만들어서 창업을 장려하겠습니다. 투명한 운영과 소통으로 신뢰할 수 있는 카이스트를 만들어서 자율적이고 민주적이며 효율적인 학교가 되도록 하겠습니다. 첫 번째로 총장의 신임 교수 면접을 폐지하고 학과와 대학의 자율성을 확대하겠습니다. 행정 지원 절차를 간소화하고 업무와 인사 절차의 표준화를 진행하겠습니다. 학생, 교수, 직원, 동문이 함께하는 그레이트 카이스트 캠프를 운영해서 신입생부터 자부심을 고취하는 문화를 만들겠습니다. 이와 같은 그레이트 카이스트 전략을 실행하기 위해서 기본에 충실하고 소통하며 지속 가능성을 바탕으로 하는 카이스트 문화를 조성하겠습니다. 저는 학부장과 공과대학 학장, 코로나 대응 과학기술 뉴딜 사업단의 단장으로서 우리원의 교육, 연구, 행정지원 업무의 현장에서 애로사항을 경험하고 우리원의 발전을 위한 숙제를 가슴에 새기게 되었습니다. 교수님들의 뜻을 받들어 신나고 자랑스러운 카이스트를 만들겠습니다. 새로운 시대를 열어가는 지속가능한 그레이트 카이스트의 모습을 함께 만들어 갑시다.
네, 안녕하십니까.
Good afternoon, everyone. So we are going to start the 18th KAIST Presidential Candidate Joint Debate, and I'll be your MC today. So we are going to hold today's debate for 2 hours, and we are going to have divide that into 3 parts. So we are going to talk about their major pledges and the Q&As as well. This is going to be provided with simultaneous interpretation.
English YouTube channel or the Zoom translation function. 먼저 18대 카이스트 총장 후보를 소개.
So first, I'd like to introduce the presidential candidates. So please give them a big round of applause. So the first number 1 is Professor Bae Chung-sik. Good afternoon, everyone. I'm number 1. I am a professor from the mechanical department. So first, I would like to thank them because the agendas that were set by the KAIST Faculty Council and some of the proposals that we have heard through the meetings, I was able to feel how we care a lot about KAIST, and I could feel the hopes of our professors for the growth of our KAIST. And I believe that that is something that we have all felt as the presidential candidate, so that's why I would like to thank you all. I would like to create a top-tier university with strong foundations, and I would like to volunteer to commit and sacrifice for the development of our school. So I believe that the things that we need the most for our faculty members as well as the students are the pride that we should take for our institutions as well as our happiness. And for that, we need to do a lot of educational innovations and also secure our financial needs and communicate with our members here at KAIST. So I would like to share my vision with our members. And I would like to meet those expectations, and I would do my utmost effort for that. And lastly, your votes should mark 90% to carry on your hopes. And next would be Professor Kim Jong-ho, number 2. So first, can you please give me a big round of applause? So first, I would like to thank the Faculty Council as well as the Election Committee for organizing today's meeting. And I would like to thank the participants. And as I woke up early in the morning, I was kind of thinking about what is our KAIST identity. And recently, I thought that, Yonsei University, they seem like they're a bit looking like clumsy and not doing that well. And yet, they have this like Nobel laureates. And they have this Baek Jong-won, who is a famous Korean franchise restaurant owner. And when it comes to Korea University, they have Cha Bum-gun, who was the very famous footballer, and Hong Myung-bo, who is the top manager of the Korean soccer team. And when I think about KAIST, I feel like we have this like small stores opened and try to survive and produce students to send them off to conglomerates as well as the research institutes. So if I become a president, I would like to create our KAIST to produce the entrepreneurs of the unicorn companies, but we do not have those type of talents, so I feel like we have these crises. I only have 16 seconds left. So amidst of this current situation, what is the direction that we would like to go forward? And as the advent of AI, I feel like we are surviving with technology.
풀어서 노벨 물리학상 감사.
All right, thank you for bringing up the Nobel Prize. We have candidate 3, Professor Yoo Seok-young. Hello. Hello, I'm candidate 3, Yoo Seok-young. Finally, we have come to the final debate event. There were so many things happening over the past 2 months, and we've all worked very hard to come to this point. And I would like to thank everyone who are joining us in this important debate. So the student in my lab asked, Professor, how are you preparing for the debate? It's like I heard that for the presidential debates, they have their secretaries helping them. And so I said, oh wow, I really don't know either. But what I want to say today is that I have limited experience and knowledge, but if I become the president, I believe that the large direction will not change, but I will work with professionals and the people who are actually doing the work, and I will listen to their opinions and I will work with them to build the future of KAIST. So I know that there are a lot of questions that we need to answer, and there's very difficult questions, but I will answer to my best. And if there's anything I need to work on, please let me know. Thank you. Thank you, candidates. So we have heard the comments from all 3 candidates, and now we will go on to the debates per topic. So we talked about various topics, and Professor Park Soo-kyung of the Faculty Council will lead the debate. Hello, I am the head of the Faculty Council, Park Soo-kyung. So today we will have a debate per topic. So we have received many surveys. We've also found agendas to discuss through the committee meetings, and we've also received questions from the professors. So we have come up with 8 topics, 8 fields. So we need to talk about a lot of these topics over in a short amount of time. So I'm sorry we were not able to reflect everyone's questions. So we will hear the professors, the candidates' answers to these topics, and also we have some printed material for about the candidates' campaigns. So please also take a look at that too. So we will have the questions, and we will have the candidates answer, and then we will have an open floor question session. And because of the time consideration, please look at the timer when you are answering the questions. I will begin with the first topic. The first topic is how we will retain outstanding faculty and how we will attract outstanding faculty. So all 3 of you have talked about various things to promise for new professors. Can you go into more detail about how you will support them, how you will bring the budget, and also other ways to raise the pride of our members? Okay, first, candidate number 1.
네, 감사합니다.
Thank you. So for the new faculty, we are working to attract new faculty, and I think it's almost as important as bringing in outstanding new students. And so I believe everyone agrees about the importance of attracting outstanding new faculty. So I know that in the past, KAIST was known to give a very attractive settlement fees for new faculties, but at this point, we're actually lagging behind some universities. So we want to attract outstanding faculty, but always the issue is how we will raise the budget. And I will talk about 2 ways on how I will differentiate the use of the overhead. So first of all, the one of that is the new faculty fund, and the second is the money used for equipment. So when it comes to the equipment, I know that there is limited funding, so I want to redistribute the overhead. First is I will focus on the use of it on the settlement fees for new faculties, especially our female faculties and international faculties. I want to help provide more support for them when they first come to KAIST and get to know KAIST and settle down here. So I will change these systems as well. And for our new faculty, one of their biggest difficulties is the administrative support. Currently, when a new faculty comes, we give them a manual, but that's just a manual about how to use the settlement funds. They don't know how to, for example, use their research funds or how to apply for business trips, for example. So I will make a manual, and I will have at least a leader level administrative staff support them, and we will create this staff mentor system so that the professors can receive the staff administrative support that they want, and I think that would be a good way to attract more outstanding faculty. So we want to attract outstanding faculty. And I looked at some of the data, and
보통 평균 정착 지원비가 1억 7천만
And currently, the professors, they receive about 170 million for settlement fees and about 180 million in a year.
1인당 3억
And I want to give about 300 million
돈을 마련하겠습니다.
for the new faculties, so I will try to raise enough funds to make that happen. And I think we need the infrastructure and we need the budget to run these kind of projects. So I am very good at bringing in money, so I will do that at least once a week. I will meet with public servants, or I will go to the Ministry of Finance or meet with the reporters. I will meet with 400 people every year to raise funds. And if what's more important, as important as attracting new faculty, is helping them grow. But if you look at our members, about 60% are assistant professors or associate professors. They are the future of KAIST, but they are often burdened by the tenure and promotion. So to help them grow, I want to bring in a mentor system. So a mentor system between the senior professors and the new professors, so that each step of the way they can receive help. So I promise to bring in a lot of money for KAIST, and I will use it for students, research, and our professors. That is the priority order that I have for the funding. Yes, so for the settlement funds, of course, it's very important, as mentioned before. I won't talk more about that. And it's important to raise funds. And just like, as I said before, I said if I become president, I will have candidate 2 as my mentor to learn how to raise funds. And I want to find ways for him to teach us how to raise funds. But I served in many committees to evaluate the research bids, and the evaluators would always say that, oh, they didn't know there were so many projects at KAIST. And also the people who get them keep getting them. And these people, they also have a lot of outside projects as well. And so for KAIST projects, I want to assign that more to the new faculty or the international faculty, or for the areas of basic science which needs long-term investments. And also at the same time, I want our new faculty to, I think we also need to train them to win the outside research projects. Also, for the NRF, I want to help them on how they can get the research funds from NRF. And also, the money is important, but we also need a diversity of research taking place at KAIST. And I want to make it clear that each and every research taking place at KAIST is important and meaningful, and not necessarily value them based on how much money they bring in. I want to make sure that you can enjoy your research. So thank you. And so the next question kind of leads on with candidate 3's answer. So you talked about when it comes to evaluating the professors, you will bring in new systems, new categories to evaluate the professors. And currently, we already take in other things outside of just, we have a 5 or a 4 or 5 category system. So we have kind of a customized evaluation system for our professors. So if you become president, how will this change? Can you give us the answers in more detail? I would like to ask Professor Kim Jong-ho to begin with his answer. All right, so I will try to say as much as I can within 2 minutes. So I have heard so many great ideas from the other candidates. Is it okay if I use your ideas if I become the president? And they said yes, so thank you. Please also use me as a mentor if needed. All right, I already used 20 seconds. So I once wrote that cultural diversity and diversity is what leads to growth and creativity. If you want to just use your authority and do things on your own, then it does not lead to growth. So When it comes to evaluating our professors, so we have the engineering school, you have the natural sciences school, we also have the school of humanities. We have about 100 professors there. I think the mission is different for each school, for each college. And I don't want to use the same standard to evaluate all these professors. So when it comes, so I think I will say let's grow together, but let's not evaluate everyone using the same standard. And for example, if you are a professor of computer science, but if you are having successful tenure, for example, you can get tenure. Or if you wrote an enormously globally renowned paper, if your idea is like the first in the world, that you can also get tenure for that. So I want to change that. When I looked at the current system, it really isn't that different. You're just looking at people who just does great in the. If they just do a little better in one category, then they can get a good grade. So I will work with the leadership to change our evaluation system. I want to make stars. So as what Professor Kim Jong-ho has said, this like customized evaluation system does not have much influence or impact because so for the like COE they have type 2 and other colleges use type 1. And when it comes to this like industrial department, they get their achievements recognized even if they win awards for their designs and things like that. So if we could positively expand on recognizing each individual's skills and assets, and if we talk about it during the dean's meeting, their understanding level of the other departments are not that high, because for the School of Computing that we've been asked to like being recognized, that also it took a lot of time to gain understanding from other, departments regarding our specific field. And so, like these new departments, they should be open-minded and see what are some of the differentiating factors from their departments to other departments and try to formulate the policies together. And when it comes to these like small departments, their department heads, they need to persuade other department heads. So we need all our efforts come together.
예. 저도 앞에 두 후보님하고 전적으로
So I also greatly agree with the other two candidates. And if I may add, when it comes to diversity, so the departments may, the colleges may differ, and within these colleges, the departments may differ as well. And when it comes to College of Engineering, so there are someone who does this engineering science, and there's someone who does engineering technology, and there's someone who closely works with the industry, or there's someone who just works solely focusing on the basic sciences. And when it comes to this like business school, what they do is that they run this MBA program.
것이 이제 기본적인 경영대 모델이고 그래서 우리가 이제 유형 1, 2, 3이 있는데
So we have these type 1, type 2, and type 3 for the HR evaluation.
더 중요한 거는
But I think what's more important is that how we implement these types.
지금 우리 신진 교수님들 정말 패기 넘치고
So our new professors, they need to leap towards the world stage, but they worry about these like tenureships, and the reason why they worry about it is because they compare with their peers, and they say there's someone who brings in a lot of research funds, and their lecture evaluation is excellent. But I believe that the purpose of the tenureship is not on that, but I believe that it's much more focusing on filtering out someone who has a lot of issues in specific areas. And I believe that the tenureship, the purpose should be help our professors to grow as to become the global stars. And I believe that is our first steps to bring in the diversity to our faculty community. So the three candidates have thought about how we can mutually grow together, and so that's why I'm very proud of it. So I am going to go ahead with the second question. The second one is related to the indefinite contract staff, and they have many different involves with like various stakeholders. So that's why this issue is very like challenging and complicated. So we in the process of communicating with them. So in order to address this issue, what do you think would be the first step to address it? Yeah, so this indefinite contract staff system is a very challenging issue, and I believe that our school has been working on this for many, many years. And so some people may think that we need different types of this, the salary table based on their skill sets, but the others may think that we need this one unilateral the salary table. So I believe that citing certain group is not appropriate, but I believe that how we are being divided as the faculty, staff, and students, I believe that we need to have some kind of system where we could take pride in within our community. So for that, what should we do? During this COVID-19 period, there were a lot of, complaints as well as a lot of, incidents. And as I have encountered those incidents, I have learned a lot because I've seen a lot of, members who have sacrificed themselves to, support our community. So I could feel how everyone loved each other. So our, staff, faculty members, and students, we are all the KAIST community members. So the first step is to meet up with these various stakeholders and talk about how we can, mutually grow together at a point that we do not burden too much financially of our school budget, and yet how we can, gain each other's understanding. And I think that's the most pressing issue at the moment. Yes, this indefinite contract staff system, it's a very unique system that we have here in KAIST. But I can see that this could be an example of how this labor market, the rigidity, this model is being installed here at KAIST. And I know that it's not easy to approach, but one thing that we need to do is that standardize, and I believe that our staff members should bring on their own skill sets, and that our staff members should feel appreciated for the skill sets that they bring on to the table. Because our professors are providing the salary of these staff members. Among these 420, roughly 30 members are not working, and yet they take these the resources, financial resources from us. And so standardizing their skill sets and their tasks and their task ranges should be standardized reasonably, and the professors, the independent decision should be also reflected in this whole process. I know that this is not easy because this requires a lot of studies into this current affairs, but I believe that we need this standardized evaluation, standardized this salary table, and making them feel appreciated according to their skill sets. And I believe that this type of environment should be installed.
추후에 추가로 설명드리겠습니다. 감사합니다.
네, 무기계약직 관련해서
Yes, going-
말씀 아주 귀중한 말씀 감사드리고요.
Yes, so thank you for the two candidates' thoughts about the indefinite contract workers. So I looked at the statistics, and we have about 420 indefinite contract workers,
4억이 되더라고요.
and the budget is about 100 billion total for their wages. So
액수가 또 1,100억 원 정도. 우리 카이스트의
and the overhead of our professor is about 110 billion, and the tuition from our students is about 100 billion. So
우리가 이제 일정 부분 우리 교수님들의 오버헤드나 예산
when it comes to so I think we can use part of the overhead. I think we are using our overhead, professor overhead, to pay the wages of the indefinite contract workers. And so why we have some issues with the indefinite contract workers is because KAIST was the first institute to
주저하고 부분적으로 받아들일 때
bring in the indefinite contract worker system. And the reason for that is because we didn't have any discussion within KAIST. And
가버넌스 문제
so I think that is the reason why we
여기 드러났고요.
are having issues now in the management of an operation of this system. So as the two candidates said, we need the help of professionals, and we do need to do some research about how we can better solve the many issues around this system. We also want to help the indefinite contract workers. They are a part of KAIST, and we also want to help them grow. We want to have a standardized system for their wages and for their work training, and we could find some ways to provide a better working environment for them. So first of all, we want to grow together with the indefinite contract workers, and so we will have to work with the professionals in the field and professors and come up with a specific strategy. Thank you. So going on to how we will simplify the administrative programs and share information. So this was a continuous issue that our professors have raised. So our professors, they want to know the student TO, but although they say that we will, simplify the administration, we will share information, they always say that there's a risk to sharing the information. There are issues like laws or regulations or government audits. So, if you become the president, how will you radically make any changes, and how will you get over the huddles that we had until now that blocked us from making change? Let's start with candidate number one.
정보 공개가
Yes, so when it comes to information disclosure, it's not going very well. We don't know what is not going well because we don't know what that information is. The students don't know, the professors don't know, and the staff don't know. So for information disclosure, I think it's a sign of confidence. So if you are running a good institution, you don't want to hide anything. I don't think people are hiding things on purpose, but they are aware of some kind of conflict or misunderstandings that can raise from sharing that for disclosing certain information. So instead of being afraid of that, I believe it is better to open the information and have a discussion about it and resolve any issues. I think it's very important for the leadership to have the will to open information. So we want to disclose all statistical information except the ones that we cannot open by law. And I want to open information, and if there's an issue about that, then we will work towards, I think we can work towards resolving it. So going beyond information disclosure, I want our students and professors, another difficulty they face is when there's a change in rules, they aren't notified of that. So we do receive a lot of public letters, and when there's a change in the regulations, there are so many stages we need to take to see what has actually changed. We can see So instead, I think it would be better if when the public letter comes, that all the information, all the important information is already there in the letter, so that we don't have to go in and click a link and find the information ourselves. And when it comes to simple information, I think if it's easier to find that information, it will be more convenient for everyone. People will find it more easier to find the information they need. Thank you.
네, 중요한 주제라고
I believe that is an important this is an important topic.
공부를 많이 해봐야 되겠지만
So
승진이나 퇴녀 받을 때 서류가 되게 중복.
I think professors have said I received that the documents they need to send for their promotion and the tenure is very similar. So I think we can reduce some of that redundancies. When it comes to information disclosure, I think it's a issue of trust. If we have a vision and work towards that vision together, then there will not be no conflicts over certain information. But if we don't have a shared vision, then people will start to ask why. So, if we are to share information, what information will we share? If we build a new building, things like where we get the money for that building. If we have an art piece, where did the money come for that art piece? If we have a chair professor or invited professors, where do their wages come from? If we have an overseas program, where does their money come from? So there are things that I want to know, so I will begin opening that information as well. How is the Development Foundation using their money? When I was the Vice President for Research, I would go into all the meetings, and actually all that information is there. But as the Vice President, of course, there were parts that I could not open. But even if certain information, even if I couldn't share it with everyone, I at least shared it with the department heads and leaderships, because certain budgets, they're already set. And we also have the research funds within KAIST, and we could share where that fund comes and goes. I think that could be a good way to build more trust between KAIST members. All right, thank you for the outstanding answers. So to add on, to make our administration better, I think we should need to simplify it, automate it. So we want to get rid of unnecessary systems, and if things that could be solved through technology, we want to resolve it through technology. For information sharing, as candidate one said, there is a lot of information that is disclosed. People just don't know where to find it because it's very complicated. So it would be better if that information is presented in an order that makes it easy to find. And secondly, if we have limited resources, so I think that leads to some inner competition, or it could lead to conflict. So I believe that is why it's not shared and disclosed openly, such as things like student TO or space issues. But I think our members are more mature now. So first of all, the first thing that we disclosed was the TO for the alternative military personnel. But when we first began this system, this TO was so important. And when we wanted to divide it among the departments, all of the members, they weren't selfish when they came to deciding which department got how many TO. They really thought about how this could best help the students. So I was very touched at the time at how the committee members were thinking about our students. And every time when I go to, and I've always said, I'm very thankful for the work that you do. And I think that culture that we have, we can spread it, if we spread it to KAIST, it will be the best. So I will try to make that happen. All right, so it's very, we're having some very great talks. So going on to how we will, our research infrastructure. This is something that we always comes up in our professor discussions. So we don't have enough budget for the joint equipment, but we don't have the outstanding researchers to manage those equipment. So we have the fab labs, and if you look at the data, we have graduate students or an administrative staff who already has other work, or contract workers managing the equipment. And this is not a long-term solution to this issue. So we need to readjust the workers, the staff at KAIST, or we need to find ways to bring in the research support staff. So let's start with candidate number 2. Yes, so at home, at work, budget is always an important issue. And so I will do my best to win more money, to bring more money to KAIST for a good reason. And if we have the budget, we can support the students and the professors and the personnel for labs. And we have a 1.2 trillion, I think, in terms. So I want to make that into about 1.5 trillion. And also 70 million for our professors. I want to increase that to 80 million. So when it comes to the 11 top fields in AI or quantum, I believe we can also bring in a lot of money from the government. And I talked with when I was the vice president for research, when we established the Kara Center, we brought in a lot of very expensive equipment. And we have also actually expanded Kara. And we have about 30 staff, and the budget is only about 600 to 700 million. And so we need to bring in more money. So I will try to increase that budget to about 10 billion. So I will do my best to make that happen. So when it comes to supporting the shared equipment, we need to secure the specialized personnel. So personally, when I went to Harvard, there were doctorate level staff members, and there was this PhD level students who have helped us with server management. So I envy them. But for this, I feel like this is not just our school's problem, but I feel like we are bounded by this labor law, and I think we need to find ways how we can work our ways to to solve this problem. And I believe this is something that requires this long-term discussion. And so I would talk about someone who could help us for a short-term period, and the staff members who could help us in the longer run. And I believe that we need to look into it very closely. And this is something very challenging, but this is a pressing issue to our professors. So I want to bring our heads together and bring in the experts as well. And this is something that we need to resolve together. And when we talk about this research infrastructure, we usually talk about this building, equipment, as well as the specialized personnel. And in case of this buildings and the equipment, we need to do something more than securing these financial aids, and for that we need to secure investments. And some departments have been receiving donations and investments to revamp their buildings, and I feel like we need to incentivize for bringing those financial fundings. And I believe that we need to have this satellite lab, and if that's possible, and I think we could centralize and these fundings so that we could bring in the equipment, purchase them, and then co-manage all those equipment. And when it comes to this specialized personnel, and as what Professor Liu has just said, we do have this big structural issue, but within the scopes that we can work on, if we could revise those those rules, then we could separate this specialized research personnel to support these equipment operations and refund this 10% from professors and purchase these equipments. And so the next topic is related to this research leadership. And you said that we are going to create a team that could support the professors. So to raise the competitiveness of our professors securing the research funds. And Professor Bae said that, and Professor Kim said that we could, install many different research centers, but we do have roughly 100, including KI Institute. So what would be the new research centers that you're proposing that could set apart from the existing research centers? And also Professor Lee has not included establishing some certain research lab as her proposal. So what's for your pledge? So what's the reason for that? So when it comes to SOC, it is the programming area, and SD head.
굉장히 많은 우리 교내 연구소와 연구센터의 운영위원으로
So that I am the committee members of many different communities related to it, and being a committee member, I was able to witness a lot of situations that's going on. Like in the past, there were these top-down directive orders, but I believe that we are no longer living in that era. So instead of making this top-down decisions in order to create these research centers, I would like to have our professors to be excited about the research fields that they would like to study and create those research centers. And I think we should support that because we have a lot of SOC professors as well as the professors in the digital humanities and the biological sciences and Kim Jae-chul AI. There are a lot of mainly departmental professors who are leading this convergent studies and disciplinaries. And what's more important is that even if we have this research virtually, I think we need to take down the burdens, the hurdles between the departments to get rid of any challenges. And there was, for this Nobel laureates this time, there was this MIT professor. And he said, so for the foundation of the prosperity, this democracy is very important. And he has, talked about Korea as an example because there is a lot of discourse that Korea has, grown fast. But he said, but after the war, Korea has grown rapidly after, we have installed democracy as the political system within our country. So I think that's important when it comes to setting up this research. Okay, center. So now.
다음에는 우리나라 노벨상 수상자가
So,
미국에 대해서
or want the next Nobel laureate to give comments about the American scholars the next time around. So we have this quantum center and as well as carbon neutrality research center, but the most important thing is that they should go together with this big-sized research fundings. So as what this space research center, we need to have something that could attract a huge amount of research funding, and also we should be collecting the talents in specific areas if we create those research institutions. So I think it could be act as the incubator. And so the precondition is that this is not something that President himself can do it, but I believe that the funding should be supporting these ideas. So there are a lot of research centers and institutes, and they're existing because they're existing for a reason. But there are some of the research centers that are inactive, and those inactive research centers, we should close them down and also utilize the fundings for the ones that are promising.
13초 제가 써도 되나? 비우셨네. 네. 제가 이제 학교 안을 이렇게 들여다보면
So when I look closely into the current affairs here in our school, our professors have a lot of stress over the space issue. Even if they want to hire more professors, they can't because of the space issue.
매일매일 보고 있어요. 저기요,
So that's why,
없나.
I always look into, SOCs, this Crafton building that they are building to see if there's any space that I could utilize. So
그다음에 저는 미래가 분야별 융합을
I
이루어야
believe that the future needs to have these convergent technologies. So
두 번째 목적은 그래서 저는 건물을 지어야 된다. 그래서 1년에
And the second goal, I believe we need to build a building. I will build one building every year. The government usually gives us money for one building every 2 years, but I will do my best to bring in the money to raise one building per year. That's my goal.
그걸 뭘로 채우느냐.
And so how do we fill those buildings? I want to fill them with research that leads national agendas. So AI, semiconductors, energy, space, mobility, bio. Those are the areas that I am looking to
제가 제안드리는 이 연구소는
build. And for the research labs and centers that I have proposed, there are some that we have that are running very well. Some aren't doing so great. And so I also focus on AI, and I think the recent Nobel Prizes also show how AI is important. So instead of just following other people's agendas, we want to make our own agendas and lead.
네, 감사합니다.
Thank you. So going on to undergraduate education.
학부 교육에서 가장
So what do you think is the most urgently urgent area that needs to be changed? Also, our educational policies work within the structure of our academics. So of course, it's not easy to change the policies. And in the past, it was very difficult to continue on projects or new classes or departments if it was top down. So how will you make change? So starting with Canada 1, as Professor Park said, I think the biggest answer is that until now, the top-down method of building new systems does not work. So and the professors all know that if you ask our students what they need more, then we have such outstanding students, and we have such talented and energetic students, but I think they are not properly being evaluated by the global society. So what is the problem? So I think that our students, they don't know how to express themselves. They are not good at communications. And I think that's the biggest issue. So we are doing very well, working very hard to teach the students, but in addition to that, we need to help them how to express themselves, how to cooperate with others. We need to build that kind of culture. I think professors already know this. So we want to build a culture that really brings out the best in our students. And we need education for digital transfer. And for digital transfer education and AI education, this is something this is a must. We've already tried to do this, but our students, they've also wanted this education, and our professors found it difficult to teach these classes. We need to establish good courses, and we want to build a system where departments recognize the AI classes of other departments. So we have things like the TO for classes, or the issues of certain classes being recognized for credits. If we could resolve those issues, we can solve some of the issues we have in our education system. So when it comes to education, I think there is a link between education systems and undergraduate students. I read the news right before, is that students, about 100 or 80 students at KAIST have left KAIST in the past 3 or 4 years to apply for medical school. And looking into the reason why, is I think there's a distance between the undergraduate students and professors. So we are not focusing too much on education. So this isn't the exact facts, but we have a professor from MIT, Professor Sunam-pyo. He said let's do the pass-fail system. I think we still have that for the freshmen. I think I need to get credit for that because I was the one who suggested that. So we wanted to give the students the opportunity to fail and really learn in that period. And for undergraduate students, if they want, let's give them a space needle lab if they want it. So since their undergraduate years, helping them work with the professor they want, that is the educational philosophy I have. And I also want to use AI to bring educational innovation and also use AI to make offline classes possible. And if a student is interested in a course, there are MIT and Stanford courses as well. There are things like Montreal courses in Canada, and you can find these courses online. And so KAIST can also upload its popular courses online to attract international students. And I will have to, of course, work with the Vice President for Academic Affairs. All right, so I am very interested in the undergraduate education. For the first question was how can we improve the undergraduate program? So I think from the professors teaching the students, one way, we also want to have more open teaching classes. I am teaching 3 classes this semester, and 2 are project classes, and 1 is the Kakao Impact. We're working with the Kakao Impact Foundation, so we are finding ways to help people in need with our students' technology. So the students make software technology to help the people in need. And so I think we can find ways to have these kind of project-based classes that can meet the needs of our students and really help them for the real world. And I want to have find a more effective way to run big classes. And I have won the Best Teacher Award about 2 times at KAIST. And I am teaching some large-scale courses every year since I joined KAIST. And so I've also uploaded my courses on Coursera, and so that students all over the world can see them. When I went on to an overseas conference, there was someone who came up to me, and then they said that they would hear my Coursera courses because my voice would help them feel more positive. So anyhow, what I want to say is through the COVID era, we've learned to use how to use online courses, and I think this is something that will become very necessary in the future. So we want to use the resources that we have to provide outstanding education to our students. Even if we have online mass courses, we have helped students grow, and we have also gotten great feedback from the students. Thank you that was very interesting. And going on and to how we will improve the support for our graduate students. So our graduate students, their minimum stipend is 800,000 for masters and 1.1 million for PhD. So overall, we need to increase this stipend amount. And we also want to resolve the issue of difference in stipend per lab or per department. Looking at our financial sources, it mostly comes from our overhead and the projects. So again, this also comes to the issue that we need our professors to win more project bids. So what do you think about the stipend program, and how can we bring in more funds? Starting with Professor Candidate Kim Jong-ho. So looking at the students and their stipend, I think it's important in terms of their human rights to provide so that all students can receive the same level of stipend. and it's very uneducational, I think, to give them different stipends. So, and I think the minimum amount was set about 4 to 5 years ago through many efforts, and I think ultimately we want our master's and PhD students to receive the same stipend to have stability in their livelihoods. So then where can we bring in the money? So from a few years ago, I would always, visit the National Assembly, or when I would appear in the media, I would say that the government needs to pay for these students, their studies, and their livelihood. And actually, the actual amount for that would be many billions of won. But if you want to stop losing students to medical school, we need to provide really great benefits to the students. Do you know how much military students get? They get 2 million. So our students receive less than that. So I said, let's look at the numbers. Let's look at the national agenda numbers. And so to meet our goals, we would need about 10 billion. But I think we can't make this change suddenly. We need to make it progressively, because there are some labs where if they can't meet that stipend, they can't bring in more students. That's what happens in the United States universities. That's why their overhead is about 50%. So I think one of the biggest missions as the president would be to find ways to have the government give us more budget to support our students' stipends.
좋은 말씀 감사합니다. 그 대학원생의 학연 장려금의 최소 금액을 올려야 한다는 것은 아마 모든 분들이 다 동의하실 거라고 저는 생각을 하고요. 그런데 이 최소
But this increasing the level of the minimum stipend and receiving like the same amount in all departments, in all labs, is something that we need to take a look into separately, because they are receiving their salaries, so they're in a very complex position. But what's more important is that our students need to be happy to focus on the research, and I think such support is needed. But as what the candidates have said, there are the research areas where it requires a huge research funding and this expensive equipment, but there may be some other labs that requires less amount of expenditures. So there are different situations in each department and in each laboratory. So having this unilateral method applied to it, I don't think if that would work, because in the United States, there are some people who say that there are some people who receive the same set amount, but there are many different issues involved with it. So ultimately, I believe that we should receive the government funding so that our students could receive more, so they could be much more immersed into focusing on the research, and I think that's what's needed.
우리 그 학연 장려금이
So the stipend,
장학금이라는 개념에서
it has this concept of being scholarship,
생활비의 개념으로 바뀐
but it's been recognized as the living expenditure.
그런데 이거는 이제는 과기정통부도 얼마 전에
And currently, the Ministry of Science and ICT has recently said that
스타이펜드를 설정하고
they have set this minimum stipend and said they could provide more financial support if we can't, if we need more, and we feel much more pressurized.
어쨌거나 그게 긍정적으로 작용하면
And if that works positively, raising the minimum is good. But I feel standardizing the stipend is very risky, because standardizing could lower the efficiency and also be the barriers to the positive growth. So I think we should, recognize the differences, the different amount, but we should avoid this huge gap between the stipend amounts receiving by the students. But I think we should install this give and take policy that could, satisfy the each members, the graduate students. And so the president's role is to influence this like national like policies, and taking lead on that discussion is very important. And in addition, this research infrastructure and securing this funding and giving like additional amount to the students is something that would be great going forward. Thank you very much. So the next topic is related to the academic diversity. And actually, this was not dealt that much when we were setting our agenda, but during the faculty meetings, this is something that came out through the Q&A session. So, so everyone agrees that we should,
문제가 제기된 배경을 조금만 더 들여다보면은 이거는 학교의 인건비 재정 관점에서 양적 성장에 따른.
But if we look at the reality of the university's labor cost financing, this is like inevitably connects to the cost issues stemming from the university's quantitative growth, and because like in the past, the government has set the TO, and also but there were some of the few changes, and we were able to adopt this PBS method, and also hire some of the professors going beyond this TO. And over the 7 years, this professors, the labor salary ratio was roughly from 18%, but it has increased to 30% in these like overhand. And so which means is that we need to there are some of these like burdens, financial burdens regarding this labor cost. So recently our school has been talking about this quantitative growth, and also these like average research fund per faculty is something that we hear all the time. So we've been looking into MIT cases because they have 1,000 professors, but we have roughly 700, and so we need to increase the numbers to 1,000 level, just like MIT. But I'm kind of like doubtful for that, because out of this 1,000 professors, there are only 400 COE faculty members, because currently here at KAIST we have roughly 17, and there's 401 COE professors, so there are not that much difference when it comes to the number of COE professors. So if KAIST wants to leap as the global top-tier university, I'm thinking, do we need this quantitative growth? So I'm kind of like doubtful about that, and we need to reconsider, because as the fast follower, I believe that this quantitative growth was stemmed from being the fast follower, and the department who's been making a lot of revenues. And I believe that this big size like department professors should coexist with other department professors, and also we need to encounter the actual societal issues in order for us to truly grow, and so that our students can become the global leaders as well. And we need better qualitative growth. And when it comes to diversity, it's something similar to the things that we've been discussing over the past hour, because I believe that our students are learning all these basic sciences, AI, semiconductor, mobility, and space that is needed for this cutting-edge technology. But I believe that our students also need to learn this Korean history and the Korean language, and those professors may feel like
저는 예의가 아니라고 보고요.
be excluded because
아버지가 집에서 아이들한테
when fathers tell something to their children, there are some of the things that they should say and there are some of the things they should not say, and even between the spouses when it comes to like money, we can't say, oh, you should bring in more money or you should use less money. And we only say that when we are in the difficult situations, but we should not be talking about it like during the ordinary times. And I know that this PBS is something that we need to discuss and we need to work more for that. And in order for that, I think that, we have to think about this academic diversity. And when we think about academic diversity, there are some of the professors who maybe bring in money, and there are some of the professors who might be focusing on the basic sciences, and there might be some of the professors who are not like solely focusing on the research, and yet they are, making our KAIST reputation better. So, respecting this diversity is the way to, raise our pride. Thank you very much.
네, 가장 중요하면서도 또 구체화하기 어려운.
So that is the most important issue, but it's very difficult to specify. My biggest concern is what is the business model for the business of college. I think it's education. We also have the School of Humanities. So what is the goal of so do you want to teach them humanities, or do you want to teach them how to bring the engineering and humanities together? And there are about 100 professors in this School of Humanities. And when it comes to, we have about 100 women faculty as well. So I think KAIST has this diversity. So before talking about money, we want to talk about diversity, and we need to respect that diversity. And but so in the past we could appoint new faculty by using our own funding. But I didn't know that is running in what is called the PBS. And I said I will not, and I will promise I will not use the term PBS. And so we do have some outside funding and we do have the overhead, but we want, when it comes to dividing the resources, about 60 will go to growth and diversity, and 40 will go to focusing on what is going well and helping them grow. And one way we could do that is I looked at the Graduate School of AI, and so the professors are in Seoul. They may be a bit unhappy about that. But professors from Yonsei and Korea University, they are all transferring to the KAIST AI Graduate School. And in terms of ranking, they're actually fourth out of Stanford and Carnegie Mellon and those outstanding global universities. So I believe that we need to also focus on helping the departments that are doing well, help them grow. And so while this is a difficult issue, we want to find ways to strengthen diversity. Thank you. So we will go on to the last topic. So how will the topic is how will we run the multi-campuses and our academic system. So the current professor has made various overseas campuses, and so professors are wondering how these overseas campuses will be operated. Also, there were many new departments or programs or graduate schools that were made or scrapped, and at the same time, what is your policies on how we will use that space, the faculty, students, and the staff and the space? So what are your thoughts about the multi-campuses and about the newly made departments? So this is the last question, so I will give you each 3 minutes to reply. So the three candidates, I think we've had this question already asked before, so we already talked about this, but my policy is that until now, there was a reason that the school had certain policies. So in principle, I will follow those policies, but for the multi-campuses, this is something not just for us, but for Korea, for Japan, and the United States. This is something they have experienced, and I think it is one one thing that things that universities do in the process of growing. So they want to grow, but they have limited land. They want to expand their fields, but of course there's limited resources, and there's limited property. But we want to make more campuses. So I think naturally, and also due to some needs from industry or through cooperation with overseas universities, that leads to these multi-campuses. But if we look at how that is doing, how they are doing, we want to see if those subjects are still have that motivation to operate these multi-campuses. So if there is a reason to continue those campuses, of course we need to continue to maintain them. But if there is no one who is leading these projects, or if it has become difficult to carry on the projects because of some changes in the environment, I believe it is best to scrap what needs to be scrapped and continue what can be continued. So I don't have a specific details about what should be scrapped and what should be continued. We need to run an assessment and look at the environment and see what kind of changes need to be made. And for the multi-campuses, and also for the organizations at KAIST, for the academic organizations, you need to be very careful in building or scrapping new parts, because I think it's dangerous. I think there is a lack of understanding of education if you think that it's easy to change the academic system. If we want to make a change, it needs to start from research. So we can start with changes in research, and then if there's a need for more education or there's some kind of way to develop upon that, then we could expand upon that idea. But and also for our multi-campuses, it wasn't an expansion of our academic systems, it's expansion of the research. And then those kind of things can help us expand our school's capabilities. So for academic system, we need to be very careful to make changes. And for the multi-campuses, I want to put the focus on research. So yes, so it's important to effectively run the campuses, and so KAIST has become one of the greatest universities, although we are not even located in the capital, and there are some disadvantages that we are not located in Seoul, but we want to enhance our networks, and I agree that we want to expand our networks for future growth. But what we need to think about is, are we all going towards the same goal? Are these projects going really in the same? It's going the same way as KAIST projects. Is there a consensus about this? And also, are there many people who are interested in this? So even if we talk on the news about building new campuses, there may be people who say may not be people who want to go. So we need the people's interest, we need the money, we need the consensus and the motivations. I think that's why we need to reevaluate the new campuses that are in plan. But and you also want to look about whether these new other campuses are sustainable. And if they are not successful, then we need to do away with them. I think that's the same for our academic systems. And in my campaign, I talked about the Yongin semiconductor cluster. It's such a big part of our projects and our AI research. We're working with SK Hynix and Samsung to work with them, and they said that they will pay all the money for the buildings and the equipment, and there are professors interested in that. And as the companies will invest about 500 trillion for that, so we can work with the professors. And then we also have the Munji campus. We have some space there actually, but it's not being used efficiently. So I want to use that space more efficiently, so we can solve the space limit issue, and also help our build those headquarters where our graduate students can really leap into the global stage and also work with the local industry. So, but I want to do projects that are practical. Thank you. So those are all great comments. I agree, and I also agree with. I agree fully with Professor Baechung-sik's comments.
조금 빠지는 게 있긴 하죠. 예.
And
그래서 조금만 제 말씀을 드리자면
so to add on,
멀티 캠퍼스 다 좋은데.
so I think the multi-campus idea could be good, but we don't even have to go to Seoul. We have this main campus, Hwam, Munji. The three are all very different. Munji, we don't have a lot of space because the graduate school for medical science will be there. But the further the campus is, it tends to be very out of sight, out of mind. So we make new campuses and we expand very quickly. But then if you just give the details to the workers, I think that's not very responsible. So there are people here, and we have a culture that links our seniors and our juniors. And wherever you are, if you're in New York or in Seoul, if we have that sense of oneness, it will be fine. But if we don't have that, then even within the same campus, we can have competition and kind of conflict. So I think it's important to build campuses, but it's important to build a culture where we have that consensus and work towards the same goal. I agree with Professor Pae in that we need to be careful when we make education programs. We can't just say, oh, let's try it, and then if it fails, then it's whatever. Because for the student, this is a very big, important issue in their life. And I think as an educator, that's something that's not imaginable. So I think it's important to expand the institution, but we want to focus more on building our strength from the inside.
Thank you very much. So there were 8 topics that we have discussed. And I could feel that your love and the passion for our school. So let's give them a big round of applause. To really appreciate them. And now I'm going to hand over to our MC. So thank you for your answers, and I would also like to thank Professor Park Soo-kyung for leading these Q&A session, debate session. So the topics that we have discussed are the topics that we have, formulated through the opinions that were gathered through our professors. So now I'm going to give you the opportunity to differentiate your pledges against other candidates. So can you talk about 3 minutes about the pledges, your signature pledges? You need to differentiate yourself apart from other candidates. I'm number 1. I am Professor Baek-chung-sik from the Department of Mechanical Engineering. Please remember me. So there was this one thing that I wasn't able to, discuss, which is the ESG management. And ESG management is something that we apply to the industry, so it might seem a bit unfamiliar to apply it within our university, but that's something that the Western universities have been working on. So when it comes to this energy consumption and any pollutants, any risk factors, and when it comes to this diversity, we did not have enough opportunity to look at it systematically. So on that level, I think we need to adopt this ESG management. So for the first topic related to that, there would be an energy issue to respond to this climate changes. So regarding this, we need to have this role to create the technologies related to this. And for this SDG agendas, we need to set our goals, and we need to create a system to monitor it and to see if we could be sustainable. In order for us to secure that system, we need to bring in the consensus and the internal discussion discussion as well amongst our
오늘은 전혀 얘기가 나오지
faculty
않았지만
members.
많은 분들이 공감하는
And also
것 중에
there's this
하나가
other thing that we,
지하주차장 건설이
formed the
사실은
consensus, which is
지하주차장 건설은
to
우리가
create
지금 현재
this underground
밀착하고
parking
있는
lot. And it is actually one of the
주차
challenges that we have when it comes to,
그리고 또 교통,
overpopulated
실제
this like
같은 것들을 해소하는 방법이기도 하지만
parking
더
spaces.
나아가서는 이미 10수년 전에 세계적으로
And
기후 변화에 적응하는
roughly
기술로
10
이미 아이템화이즈가 된
years,
겁니다.
it has already
그래서
been like
반드시
itemized.
저는 이 지하주차장
So
건설을
when
통해서
through
우리
this
학교 환경을
underground parking
개선하고 또 기후
environment,
변화에
I would
대응하는
like to,
모습을 보여주겠다.
address our
지하주차장
environmental
건설은
issue.
우리는
So this
국내에서도
underground
이미
parking
늦었습니다.
lot is something
그래서
that we are
지금
kind of like
뒤늦게라도
falling
반드시
behind.
좀 ESG 경영과
So I believe that we
SDG와
need to have
연계한
these ESG management and SDG business management to be adopted within my policy, pledges.
정보 공개를 통해서
And also we talked about this information disclosure. So there was a great need for this open society. And in addition to that, I would like to increase the communication between our community members. And for that, I need to decentralize the authority of our members. And as a symbolic gesture, I would like to abolish, having this presidential like interview when we hire new faculty members. And I just want this this president to be symbolic to stay behind when it comes to hiring new faculty members. Okay, so the second candidate.
총장의 역할이 뭘까?
So what would be the role of the president? And when I thought about it, I feel like they are the orchestra.
직접 연주하는 게 아니죠. 독주하는
Orchestrate, because the president himself does not play alone, but bring out the harmony amongst the players and bring out the best music.
관객을 또 유치하는
And also, bring in the audiences and bring in the sponsors.
뭐 약간 총장하면
So if I become a president, I tend to
부총장, 처장,
stay loose.
시장, 학과장들이
So
급으로 알아서
I want the deans and the heads of the departments to work as, like the presidential level, like of the responsibilities to take. And I would just like meet once in a while to see if I could like orchestrate them.
얘기가 안 나오는데 꼭 하고 싶어요.
And there's this one thing that we did not discuss, but there's this something that I would like to talk about, which is making the gardens in our school, and also installing the gates and at our front gates,
캠퍼스를
and creating this great cafeteria where we could take our guests.
신임 교수 초빙할 때 총장이 면접하는
And we also talked about why presidents, interview these new faculty members. Like in the past, this is something that was not talked about, but this is something that we recently talk about. And if we think about ourselves, we came here going through this
우리는
meeting with the president because for the deans, like are being also selected by the president. So when it comes to democracy or other things, I feel like at the center, there are always like humans at the center. So I want the professors to be the presidents, and I would like to be the one who like cheer them up. So I would like to have our professors to be happy and are the ones who are respected and treated well, and to work together to create the best university in the world. I still have 30 seconds left, but I would like to conclude my comment. And candidate number 3. So this SOC is currently building a new building, and there's this underground parking lot in that. So that is like some good news that I wanted to share with Professor Bae Chung-sik. And other than that, there is something that I'd like to share with you.
우리 학교 구성원으로서
So as
가장
the
마음에
community
담는
member,
특히나 우리 교협의 아젠다에도
and it was also part of our faculty council's agenda, which is related to the healthy minds of our members. And as 1 year has passed, there were students who have passed away, like there were 4 students at the same time. So I walked around the school campus, and I was kind of thinking whether I should leave KAIST, but then I thought that I should never leave my school. But I feel like, and of course there were a lot of changes after that, but even though there were some of the changes, there are a lot of things that are still serious, and there are a lot of data about how these OECD countries has put in their investments to improve such issues. And I believe that I don't think the policy or the words are needed, but I believe that we need the resources and the personnel to address this healthy mind issue. During the COVID-19, at the end of March, there were students who came into the dormitory, but we had to, return them back home. But there were a lot of students who weren't able to go back home, and it still hurts my heart. So there are maybe some of the students who cannot, return to. So I want our school wants to, recognize their special aspects and nourish those aspects, because our family members are very close.
So there are so many sparkling things, but and once you look at your paper, your thesis, and we need people who can understand that and say, wow, this is so great. And so when our students need the help, we want to make a place where students can go when they need help. And also not just for our students, but for our staff, we want to make a space where they can really feel truly comforted. Thank you. So for each candidate, we've heard about their campaign. So for the last candidates, then we will go the opposite order later on. So we will take questions from the floor now. If you are joining us online, you can ask questions. You can also use the chat screen if you want to ask questions. So I think what's important is that we have professors here, and we also other important members of KAIST. We have the heads of the student associations. We have Kim Soon, the head of the student association. So we will also take questions from the students. So they will ask very scary questions. So I think you need to be prepared. Okay, so I am here as the student representative, Kim Soon, and we believe that there are certain welfare policies at KAIST, and I think that eating is very important. And for our people's health, we have things like the national health insurance. So for KAIST, we have the KAIST Clinic, and we have the counseling center and the SHIA to help with the welfare and health of KAIST members. But the KAIST Clinic, due to some budgetary issues or due to some operational issues, from what I know, it's difficult to bring in the doctors. And for the counseling center, a continuous issue is that there is a lack of counselors who can speak English, who can counsel in English. So, and the SHIA was a very good welfare system, but I heard that this may also be canceled. So when it comes to health, I think there are several issues, and so if the candidates become president, how will you resolve the issues in terms of the health welfare? And in more detail, what kind of vision do you have for the various resources that we have at KAIST?
1번 후보.
All right, going from candidate number 1.
제가 일단 우리
So first of all,
보면서 정말
as I
고맙고
listened to these students, I was
감동스러운
very
것은
thankful
제가
and
아까
impressed
얘기할 때 우리
because
학생들이 참이
I
커뮤니케이션
always say that our
능력이
students, I said that our students, their communication skills do not really shine, but I think this student, your communication skill is very excellent. And so each candidate, you made eye contact with all candidates and also the MC. I think this kind of communication skill is something you want to see in all of our students.
우리 학생들이 전부 다 이렇게 되면
I think if all of our students could be like you, it would be great.
그 의료복지
So
문제는
for the
제
health
생각에
welfare,
이제 그 패시브한 방법하고 액티브한
so we have a passive method and an active method. The passive method
방금 우리
would be to,
개성분들이
as you said before, to utilize the systems that we have right now, the clinic, the counseling center, and SHIA, to expand the services, their services. That would be the passive method.
항상 보면
And but ultimately, it always comes down to the budget. So we need to raise more funds. It's important for the president to bring in more funds, and
재원을 확보해서
we want to bring in about as much money as we can. We can get donations. We can receive a budget from the government, or we can use the development funds that we have, and
하는 방법이 있는데
run that money to make a profit
저뿐만 아니라
and use that profit. And I think not only me, but the two other candidates will also.
좀 좋게 하자. 제가 생각하는
we also want to make it better living conditions for everyone.
사람이 건강하려면
So for a person to be healthy,
솟아오르고
for you to have a lot of endorphin and to be happy and to feel confident, we need to want to build that kind of culture where you can feel happy and confident.
30초는 칭찬하는 데 쓰였으니까 30초.
I'm sorry, I think I wasn't looking at the time limit.
전체적으로 자부심이 올라가게 만드는
We need programs that can help raise the pride of our members. So starting from the new student orientation, we want to build programs where the students can feel pride and a lot of confidence. And I go to the sports center which closes on Saturday, and the sports complex closes on Sunday. And the students, they really enjoy using the sports center. And I will open the sports center all week long.
네, 2번 후보님.
Candidate number 2. So I was very I was very busy writing down notes. I'm sorry I didn't make eye contact with you. So you're on the second year of undergraduates, of the undergraduate program. So I don't often get the chance to meet undergraduate students because I mostly teach the graduate students. Most of the young professors get to teach the undergrad students. My biggest interest for the undergrad students is their human rights, and another is their growth, and the third is welfare. So I recently have a new master's student in my lab, and this student traveled the world even more than I did. And then this student also traveled Korea on just a bike before joining graduate school. And then the student went to France and won in a contest. And I was so impressed to see that enormous development of that student. So looking at our welfare, so we gave money to the student groups in the School of EE so that the students can, do some activities outside of their studies. How many? There are about 100 student clubs. So if you give each just 1 million, that's an enormous amount of money. But I want to have those kind of things because I want the students to participate in a lot of activities and not just play games in your dorms. And I haven't really been able to give a lot of thought about the health issue. And the last time I went to the clinic, I did notice that there was a decreasing number of doctors. So I will do my best to look after the health of our students. So the students, do you pay health insurance? So the professors, they pay the health insurance for students. If your parents can pay, then your parents pay. But if you can't get that support, I will look into what kind of health insurances are there to help these students in need. I will study that.
감사합니다. 네, 3번.
Thank you. Candidate number 3. Yes, so a bit of a cheat key is that I know this student very well. So I know that this student got into dental school, but he decided to come to KAIST. So I want to thank you for that. And also the reason I say this is a cheat key is because I'm very interested in this area. I'm a part of the mental health committee, and so the Shia is one issue that I won't go into detail about that, but as I said before, I think the Shia, and it's really a reflection of what our school thinks is important and where we want to use our funds. Of course, KAIST does have its issues. There are some issues regarding Shia, so we are trying to make some changes. But I think the financial support for your medical bills will not end. But we are in discussions about how we can, but I think we could have made better decisions and had better communication regarding that issue. And for the clinics and the counseling center and other health institutions, I believe that we want to have more discussions. And when there's an accident, we want to make sure that we respond quickly. And also, even before that, we want to prevent the accidents. And we need a control tower to do that, but we don't have a control tower. So I will go back to if someone is in a hardship, instead of just simply going somewhere, I want to build an organization where the students can actually receive help. And I think that it really shows where we put that.
네, 감사합니다.
Yes, so thank you very much.
현장에서 질문 받도록 하겠습니다. 원활한 진행을 위해서 질문은
And so we will take questions from the floor. So please make your questions short for the sake of the discussions. Thank you.
네, 두 가지 질문 드리겠습니다.
So I have two questions.
이런 자리 너무 좋은 것 같고요.
So I love that how you have organized this occasion, and so I would like to thank the KAIST Faculty Council as well as the candidates.
일단 말씀드리면서
So I'm very pleased with my campus life, and yet there are some of the things that I feel like that we should discuss instead of the president himself or herself should totally bear that this thing. So as the female professor, there are a lot of things that I feel like that there could be things be much better. So when I ask the other professors to come to KAIST, they say that I know that KAIST is a great university, but there are a lot of, the shortcomings. And they also ask me, how can you live for such a long period of time in Korea? Because we also talked about this OECD's the suicidal rate we're kind of high, and also when it comes to this leadership within our university, we could see there's some shortcomings. And I feel like this is still an issue. So I want these solutions to come up and should be implemented much more actively. And for this female percentage is short, it's not that high. And because MIT, when I went to MIT, the female students consisted 50% of the overall students. So there's this female ratio issue, and the second one is that there was this R&D budget cut from the government, and also all of a sudden they talked about this global, and so receiving this research funding, everything needs to be global. And I was kind of thinking what KAIST is standing for amidst this type of demands.
그 방향성에 대해서
And also when it comes to this like R&D direction, I feel like we should do more. So these are the two type of the questions or the opinions, the comments that I would like to ask each candidate to address.
교원 입장에 대해서 저도 이제
So
관심을
I've been studying and looking closely into this female faculty members' perspective aspect. So there are many associate and assistant professors, and I could see that they are going into a lot of like committees, so they have a lot of administrative burdens.
판단이 맞는지는 모르겠습니다만 유니스트 이용은
And if you look at UNIST, I have received some guidance from the president of UNIST.
육아라든가
And when it comes to child care and childbearing and of also raising the child, there are a lot of like difficulties. And
예를 들면 플렉서블한
so
업무 시간
I could, talk about this flexible work hours and the flexible the lecture
학교로 돌아왔을
hours
때
to be allotted. And once they come back, I feel like, they should be supported with the research fund so that, they could, work on the startups.
알게 됐고요. 예산을 통해서 열심히
So
노력을
I would try my best through this the budget that I
한계가 있으니까
want to bring in the future.
이름은 좀 바뀔 수 있습니다만 다양성 위원회
And I was kind of thinking that this diversity, the committee should come right under the president's office in these like organization chart, so that we could, talk and grow like progressively. And the second thing was that instead of us, following the government's policy, that we should be leading it. And I meet the Ministry of Finance quite often. I meet them at night. And they have roughly like 60 trillion won for their budget. So I would like to take lead instead of us, being following out these policies. So the treatments for the female professors and the students, and especially this like COE's female professors are doing well, but I feel like we need to do more, even though we are doing well. And so here at KAIST, we have this inclusive like committee, and also SNU's diversity committee has talk about gender equality. And here at KAIST, we try to do something more for those like minority like community members. And when it comes to this government policy, as what Professor Kim has said, and also this is something that I've said during the last Q&A session, and instead of us following this Ministry of Science and ICT as well as the government's policies, but we need to go beyond that, and we need to think about how we can lead this policy. So we need to discuss together with the government, and we need to play that role to take lead in that discussion. And I believe that we have many outstanding the personnel to do that. So Professor Oh has asked 2 questions, so that's why I am going to talk about it for 1 minute for each question. So regarding this female professor treatment, so the most ideally, we do not want to have these type of issues being raised, but because there are some of the issues, so that's why professors keep on talking about it. And then when we talk about like salary, we put the evidence based on the housing prices and also career disconnection of the female professors.
정상화될 수 있다라는 얘기들을 많이 하는데요. 그래서 우리나라가 제일 부족한 게 타가 시설이라 그럽니다.
We say that we do not have enough like nurseries here in Korea compared to other OECD countries. So we need to see how we have this like nursery being well functioning.
확대 지원
And so we need to have more support for that.
여성 교원이기 때문에
And because
제가 딸 키우는 아버지 입장에서 보면
and I am
특별히 신경이 쓰이는 그
a father who
시기들이
also
있는데
raising
그런
there's like
시기 때
daughters, and there are some of the certain periods of the stages where they need more care, and I think it requires a lot of like understanding, also a lot of like resources that need to be supported. So I'm going to work on that. And regarding this government R&D
우리가 이제 앞으로 지속적으로 노력해야
policies, there's something that we need to work on continuously, because as I get older, and
총기 있다고 들었던 이 기억력이나
and
이런 것들이
you know
막
our
사라져가는데
memories
대신 좋아지는 건 포용력,
are getting
판단력 이런 게
bad,
좋아지는데
but you know as we age, we become much more inclusive.
그 역할들을 해야 된다고 봅니다.
But going beyond, we need to take the lead in formulating these policies. So the experienced professor should take a lot of like leaderships. And if we have opportunities, it'd be great if we could, you know, send them to Harvard, Kennedy, you know, schools. But you know, they instead what they do is that they like advise these like policymakers, and I think that's the role that we need to do going forward.
All right, so any other questions?
세 분 어떻게 보면 짧다면 짧고
So I think this was a short
정말
or actually a long time. So thank you very much for your many thoughts and the comments. So I am Professor Tishik from ISYSC. So going on to the issue of finance, I think that was brought up a lot of times, and you talked about it often. And you said that you will work to raise funds. I think that is a absolutely understanding. It's a very important task for the president. And so I think it's important to help our professors really focus on their work. We need to think about the numbers. I'm sorry for sharing overseas example, but for MIT, they have 1,000 professors, but more important than that number, the amount of staff is not 10% of that, which means that when it runs the school, there's a very large number of staff supporting the professors. And I think that ratio is very different from KAIST. The reason that is possible is because of the difference in finance, in the amount of money they have. And I heard that the spending is about 50% for the staff, but for KAIST, as candidate number 2 said before, actually for the indefinite contract workers, we actually have a lot lower budget than what the candidates know. So we don't have. So I think overall, for us, only 20 or 30% of the total budget is being used for the staff wages. So I know this is something that cannot be resolved in the short term, but we have the endowments and the contributions. So if you become the president, I know that you will work for this, and I think the former presidents and the current president is also working very hard to raise more money, and they all did make a lot of achievements. But now what we're hearing now is things like we need more R&D because we want to run things on PBS and all this. So within 4 years there are things you need to do as a president, but in the long run, for KAIST to really grow, we need that financial support, some kind of structure. We need that long-term planning if we want to really change, KAIST's financial strength, from the foundation for the long-term financial stability of KAIST. So I just want to bring that up. So is that a question or a comment? So I wanted to know if you have that kind of, if you had any thoughts about this.
예, 답을 이제 우리가 이제 결국 이제 재정
So when it comes to raising finances, I believe what's more important is what kind of students we will nurture. And so within just an hour and a month and a half of discussions, I realized that funding is really very important. I think even for presidents overseas, it's important for them to raise funds. They need to go to meetings and parties and football matches, all for the sake of raising money. And if the ratio for that, I think we need to focus more on really finding that. But I think for the United States universities, they have a very strong donation culture. They have a lot of IP income as well. And also KAIST, I agree that we need to go towards that direction. I think for KAIST, we have about 10 billion for research funding every year. So I want to increase that by tenfold. And I think it's important to really share my vision and meet many people who can make donations. And I want to work together to make that happen. So I believe we agree, but to add on, we want to increase, I think, the spectrum of where our financial sources. So there is a limit to the finances we can bring in from each source. So we want to build a bigger pie. And so in about 10 years,
예를 들면 우리 지금 동문들 기부하는 문화를 획기적으로
we want to. I think we can really radically change our alumni culture if we create that opportunity and continue to, promote our work. And Professor Liu is from KAIST, is a KAIST alumni, and I was a KAIST TA. And so KAIST has really, I think, our alumni are doing very well, and so we want to build a culture where a lot of our alumni are very successful. So we want to build a culture where our alumni, are interested and want to make donations. And we also want to build an organic organism with the industry so that we can build a system where they can invest, give us finances, and we also help them with their problems. I think it would be possible to raise our finances. So I agree with the candidates and Professor Iteshik in that whoever becomes the president, this is something that we need to work on together. Thank you for your comments. So we actually have a lot of time, so we want to take more questions, but we do need to end in time. So if there are any other comments that you want to make, please share that with the faculty committee. And so we've talked about the KAIST current issues and the candidates' ideas and thoughts about it. And I think this was a good opportunity for us to understand their campaigns and to learn about what is needed at KAIST. So it is time for our final comments. So you'll hear the final comments for our candidates. We'll start with candidate number 3. We have 2 minutes per candidate. So this morning, when I woke up in the morning, there was a song in my head. And for the past 2 years, you've all worked so hard, our candidates. We really worked so hard. I was thinking about our candidates, and I thought about our life as scientists and engineers. I will sing it briefly.
검은빛 바다 위를 밤배 저 밤배 무섭지도 않은가 봐 한없이 흘러가네 밤하늘 잔별들이 아롱져 비칠 때면 작은 노를 저저 은하수 건너가네 끝없이 자꾸만 가면 어디서 잠들 텐가 볼 사람 찾는 이 없는 조금 어느 분이 총장이 되든
So whoever becomes the president, I believe that all of our efforts will be left in recording and that we will be able to realize our dreams. And I believe you're making a new history, a new future for KAIST. Thank you. Thank you very much for your song. Other candidates, I believe you will feel very pressured as to what you should do. I think we need to write a big article about this, about how you can. There is a candidate who sang for 1 minute and then talked for 1 minute. I believe this kind of creativity is what can make the future of KAIST. And thanks to the work of our professors to make a wonderful campus, I believe this is what makes our campus great. And I think this work will help us choose the next president. And whoever becomes the president, what's really important is that we all work together and we hear our voices and that we build this momentum among our professors. So once again, I would like to thank the Faculty Council and I would like to ask our professors to please vote so that people can know that our KAIST professors, they can make wonderful comments and we can work together and discuss together and really have the passion and that to show that we really work together for a better future. I hope that this is an opportunity to really show the work of our professors. Thank you. Professor Kim Jong-ho? So at home, they don't know I am the president. I was a presidential candidate. But then my daughter, she has friends who are KAIST alumni. So she saw the YouTube link and they all watched it. And then they said that Professor Liu was the best candidate. She said that she was the best speaker and all that. I told her, hey, everyone is at that level at KAIST. And I think you also dropped a tear and you also sang. And today at lunch, while preparing for this, I was watching YouTube and I was listening to some music. And so there's a song called Daughter and Father. And so I don't really have the lyrics with me, but it's a song. So the daughter is getting married and had a baby. And the song is about if you are having a difficulty, always think of your parents back home. So if you have difficulty, I am here waiting for you. And then later on, So it was actually sung by Song-hae, who passed away. I really liked him. He has spent his lifetime to love the people and the public, so that's why I respect him. I also respect our Professor Bae. So when I think of KAIST I've been really happy in my life together with the professors here because I believe that, that we've done the best research ever possible, and I would like to pass down this heritage to our professors, and so that our professors can also grow in the same path. And also want to show the other professors or the other people that if all three of our candidates work together, that we could, make better changes here in KAIST. So thank you for that, fun and jolly the comment. So we would like to conclude today's joint debate, and there's this one important announcement. Starting from next Tuesday, there is going to be this voting opened up for 1 week. So we're going to send you this link. And I heard that this voting rate is about 86%. It would be great if we could, go over 90%. So please, I would like to encourage your votes. And lastly, over the past 2 months, you've put in a lot of efforts for the development of our school. So I would like to thank all these 3 candidates and thank you very much.
그리고 유튜브와 줌으로 그리고
And
현장에
through
참석해
YouTube
주신
and Zoom, I
교수님들께도
would like to
감사
thank all the
인사를 드리면서 이것으로
participants, and I would like to
마치도록
conclude
하겠습니다.
today's
감사합니다.
joint debate. Thank you very much.
네, 이렇게 사이가 좋습니다. 네. 어,